Long time no see. Hey y'all, it's Gord with Weedy Weekend 63. 62 was 2 weeks ago. That's the first time I missed a week since I started this. I missed last week because one, there was only 3 stories that I had. I could have researched further, but two, I was really sick. So I'm back. I'm back with a vengeance, and I got a couple stories for you this time, and we're starting with Hugo Colorado, and we're going to make fun of Hugo. Let's have a cheers. That there is SFV OG from MMJ Total Healthcare. I decided a hybrid would be nice right now to have a little toke with all of you. Let me know below what you're smoking while you're watching. And let's talk about Hugo. Now, I'm kind of glad that I went 2 weeks between because this story broke just shortly after Weedy Weekend 62. And it is hilarious. I mean, the very first thing I saw when I saw the initial headlines, Hugo Colorado water supply tainted by THC, I had to laugh because anybody with any knowledge of the plant knows that that's impossible. At any rate, THC is not soluble in water. So you can't taint a water supply. You can't have THC water. You can have THC infused water, and that takes an awful lot of work, and it takes a lot of THC and very little water. To do a town supply, you'd have to have George Soros money to do that, and what? No, people don't do that. But anyway, so I didn't know how to share it all with you last week because it was still kind of in the midst. They were trucking in water into the city and shutting down all the wells. And now the story is that there never was any THC in the water. They don't know how it got there. I'll put the story below. It's an update from the Daily Caller, who said, according to Durango Herald, the Lincoln County Sheriff's Department is reaching out to the maker of the test kits to find out why they came back positive. The initial reports say that 6 of 10 wells had tested positive for THC contamination. Nobody's getting a real story from this. Some are saying that it was some independent company that tested their own water with test kits that weren't meant for that and then reported it to them. Then they went and tested wells. There's talk about a break-in at one of the wells, but I'll give you my opinion, then we'll have a toke and move on. Couple of sheriff's deputies sitting around with brand new test kits that they'd never used before, didn't know if they worked, decided to how many cops smoke pot? Come on. Decided to test them out, and they came back positive, realized they couldn't hide it, so created a story. Cheers. Now, do I know? No. What's in here? Tora Bora in rosin format. Peace and cheers. Do I know that's the story? No, I don't know the story, but I know that it is and what they're reporting. We all know nothing's ever what's reported. You have to read between the lines and find out what you're going to be comfortable believing, because none of us can be correct. We can all just be kind of close. So let's try to be close together. Anyways, now we're moving on to the next study. Now this is kind of interesting. Again from the Daily Caller. Marijuana makes people less aggressive. Now, it's a study from the Netherlands. I'm going to read some of it to you, but I caution you, and it may be something that you pick on immediately when I read this, when you find out that there was only 61 people in the study. 3 groups, one that drank, one that smoked, and one that didn't do either. But in testing aggressiveness, I'll read these 2 paragraphs, and I think it's fairly accurate. The team of researchers selected 20 people to drink alcohol, 21 to smoke marijuana, I'm not sure why 21, and 20 controls who used neither. They then put the people in situations that would presumably elevate levels of aggression. Researchers asked the individuals to rate their levels of aggression on a 100-point scale, both before and after going through the tests. They also measured testosterone and cortisol levels in the people after the tests were administered as a secondary outcome measure. The team found that no difference in the aggressive responses for any of the three groups while sober. So all 60 of these people tested relatively the same for these situations while none of them were treated with the chemical. But the alcohol group displayed increased aggression while under the influence as compared to the control group, while the marijuana group displayed lower levels of aggression than the control group. The findings were published in the Washington Post Wednesday. Now, it is concluded that alcohol facilitates feelings of aggression where cannabis diminishes aggressive feelings in heavy alcohol and regular cannabis users, respectively. The study reads. It is concluded. I don't think so. Even though this is one thing, I'm not a person who's going to take a study and go, oh, that fits into my narrative, so I'm going to give it to you and just let you have it. No, this fits into my narrative that I've always said pot makes you calmer. But the study of 60 people for a short-term period cannot say it is concluded, therefore. No, this study therefore found that in these people this was the outcome. Can that be applied as a brushstroke to all of people? Not with this study. Not with this study. What should be said is it is concluded that we need further study in these areas. Blind studies, bigger studies, lots more people, especially blind studies. Anyways, this was not a blind study. I am going to cheers to it. And I'm going to put it below. It's a good read. I just caution people that even when a story fits your narrative, question it. Because when we're trying to prove to other people the things that we're saying about this medicine, we can't be quoting a study of 60 people. And that's a difficult situation we are in right now, trying to prove ourselves, trying to prove this plant, when there just isn't good studies out there because of its current rating in many federal systems. Let's move on. The next story, I'm going to read one piece of this, but it's a salute to Woody Harrelson. Woody's my age. Woody just turned 55 a week ago. Woody's fantastic. I've always liked him. Long before I knew he was an advocate for pot, I just knew he was somebody very, very cool, very, very smart and thoughtful. Thoughtful is a very good word for this man. I'll never forget him playing Mark Twain in Cheers. And that's when I really struck onto this guy's bigger than just a comedic front. But Leafly does a real good salute. There's some stories, there's some songs. It's a good salute, so I'll put it below. But I'll read this paragraph. In 1996, Woody Harrelson staged a symbolic protest in Lee County, Kentucky, a county state that at the time did not distinguish between industrial hemp and marijuana. Harrelson arrived with the CNN camera crew and his attorney, former Kentucky Governor Louis B. Nunn. Upon their arrival, Harrelson planted 4 hemp seeds in the ground, for which he was immediately arrested. While Harrelson would only suffer the expense of a $200 bail and would later be acquitted expeditiously with the help of his lawyer, his dissent and blatant disregard for the status quo remains an inspiration for cannabis activists and enthusiasts everywhere. You know, not too many people come out of that Hollywood area and go against the status quo. And this man, Salute to him. Salute to him. A toke to him. Cheers to him. Yes, I mostly vape. I eat at night. I might start eating during the day. Don't know yet. Don't know if I like the eating high during the day. Let's move on. This study I'm going to put below from stumbleupon.com is one that kind of piggybacks off of a video from the Young Turks I shared in 62 or 61. Not the year, but the Weedy Weekend edition. They spoke of it. There was no write-up. It was just a YouTube. This goes with it about the new study that has Big Pharma terrified as pot is legalized. Pill sales are plummeting. It's a great story. It just backs that Young Turks video up because I don't like the Young Turks very much, but it was a good video. I'll read this. The study examined the costs of Medicare prescription drug benefit programs in 2013, a year when only 17 states and the District of Columbia had legalized medical marijuana. They found that legal pot contributed to a savings of $165.2 million in prescription costs. Researchers at the University of Georgia used those numbers to determine a savings in the hundreds of millions if all states would legalize medical cannabis. Now, I again am going to caution this. Yes, savings of 165 million, but that savings would be less if these medical states and Canada, we have to do this, incorporate it as a pure medicine that is covered by prescription costs. So marijuana is cheaper. It's still good. Often people are leaving 5 or 6 pills 3 or 4 times a day to move to cannabis 4 or 5 times a day. One medicine. So that's an important distinction to figure out is the exact cost is not, the exact savings is not known, and it's not what they're expressing. It's much less because cannabis still needs to be incorporated into the medical systems of these states and these countries to become a pure medicine. When that happens, then some of those prescriptions that get covered, those costs will increase again, but not by as much. I think that's pretty cool. Let's move on. This is a cool story. Let me have a drink here. A little bit anxious today. It's also really cold today. This is a cool story. 14 cool raw marijuana juicing health benefits. There are a lot of benefits to juicing marijuana. I wish I grew my own. I hope Canada, when the Allard decision is handled, sorry, my back really hurts. When the Allard decision is handled and they finally come forward and fix the MMPR program in Canada, I am hoping that the ordered by the courts to the government being ordered to increase access will be determined as bringing back the right to grow. If I could grow my own, I would be juicing. I shared this in Google and somebody immediately said, hey, you don't get high by juicing. Raw marijuana doesn't make you high. Almost anybody watching this knows that. This is the idea that this plant goes beyond just being a medicine. It is a tonic. It is a food. It is a juice. It is something to give us a status quo. I'll read this. The juice of the cannabis or the I forgot. I'm going to warn you. This is the poorest. It's from healthyfuturesva.com. It is the worst written I've ever read on the internet. It is like this person doesn't know English, or it was translated from a different language. The juice of the cannabis or the marijuana has been proved to decrease the growth of the cells that cause cancer in some people. the children and the people who are affected by the epilepsy, chronic pain, anxiety, swellings, viral, and the bacterial infections can be relieved immensely by this plant. I do warn you, the reading of this is difficult. The cannabis, the people, the very difficult, very poorly broken, but still not a bad one to look at, and not bad for, I know a lot of you grow, and I don't know that a lot of you juice, and I had some juiced marijuana mixed with kale and carrots and a bit of, I don't remember exactly what it all was while I was visiting the good owners of MMJ Total Healthcare. And it was wonderful. I at that time had really bad tummy, and I was heading from Vernon to Calgary, a 7.5 hour drive, and they gave me this, and I thought, oh, I'm going to be pulling over in half an hour. No, it was beautiful. What it did for me was absolutely wonderful. Cheers to juicing. I'm not dabbing because the nail keeps breaking. It's not working very good. I wish I had a new nail. Can't afford one. The next story, I'm just putting it below. It is just a 3-minute, really good. Jorge Cervantes talks about marijuana leaf temperature and what you should be doing if you're growing outside, because the smaller the plant, the less it has its own ability to keep itself cool while the sun's shining on it. Really, really interesting. Really interesting. It only takes 3 minutes. I encourage it. It's really good story. He shows exactly what he means. He's got some great plants. Smart guy. I enjoyed it. And that's Weedy Weekend this week. It's under 20 minutes. I do have one more at the very bottom of everything I share here. Will be a recipe for making marijuana infused banana ice cream. I'd like sharing. I'm going to try to share a recipe every week, maybe, and if any of you ever try any of these recipes that I share, let us know in the comments. Love to know what you make, how you eat your way through it. I just recently bought some semi-sweet chocolates, dark chocolate, because I want to make some infused chocolate. We'll see what happens. So, again, peace and cheers, love and harmony. Weedy Weekend 63 is over. 64 coming next week. Peace.